Good morning and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer. This is A Country Life and we are currently in cranberry harvest. It is a very, very cold morning. I don't know, did Warren tell me how cold it got last night? All I know is that it was by midnight or maybe even a little before he was already starting the sprinklers. It was just so incredibly cold. If you're brand new here, it happens to be your first video or maybe your second one and you're just not familiar with cranberry harvest, cranberry vines grow in a low, some people call them bogs or beds. Here in Wisconsin we call them cranberry beds. Anyway, it's a low area with a ditch around the edge. It gets very cold. It's, this is kind of like marshland, kind of swampy area where we live. So anyway, what happens is that, like, let's say it's going to be 40 up by the house. Where the cranberry beds are is just down a little bit from the house. It's a lower elevation and it just tends to get a lot colder there. The cold kind of drops into there. So it can be like 10 degrees colder out on the marsh than it is right here in the house. Yes, Maria, did you need something or you're just hanging out? Okay. So anyway, it was cold. It's still cold. I'm very cold. We're not turning the heat on yet in the house. Still just using our little electric fireplace. When we're kind of in the living room, we'll just sit around that a little bit if we want a little extra warmth or just dress warm. But in today's video, I will be sharing food. I will be sharing a walk on the cranberry marsh, but I want to start with this comment. So in my last video, the thumbnail says, "Let me explain," and I was explaining the difference between a sponsored video and an affiliate link that I might share, in a video description box. Anyway, that video, Kimberly left a message and she says, I'll read you her message and I'll tell you what she was referring to. "Gosh, you're such a wonderful mother and multitasker. I'd have a hard time dropping my housework and priorities," in quotes, "to kayak. But what wonderful memories you made with Peter. You're an inspiration to me as a younger homeschooling mom of 2. Thank you and have a blessed week." Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for leaving that comment. And I just wanted to address that because, so what she's referring to is that evening in that video, Peter had asked me probably 3 different times, "Mom, would you go kayaking with me? Mom, would you go kayaking with me?" He is a duck hunter and goose hunter and dove hunter. And anyway, he wanted to go up to our upper pond. Well, actually, to Pond 12 is what we call it. And he wanted to go kayaking and like scouting for all of those birds. And I didn't want to go. That's just the truth. I did not want to go. I didn't want to take the time to load up the kayaks and go up there, and Warren wasn't home, so we were going to have to load him into the back of the UTV, and I don't know. I had other things. There's always other things to do, always. No matter what we're doing. Even right now as I talk to you guys about this, there's something else I could be doing, but this is what I decided to make my priority right now. So in that video, yes, I ended up going with Peter after he asked me a number of times. Finally, I was like, all right, just go. Just go. And you know what? We got up there, and as soon as we put the kayaks in the water, and then Peter let me get into my kayak first, and he gave me a little push out, and he's probably more steady than I am in a kayak. So anyway, he kind of gave me a little push out. We were not on the water for a minute, and I was like, thank you. Thank you for pushing me to come up here. We had such a lovely time. It was so quiet and so peaceful, and it just really made me think, after reading Kimberly's comment, that I'm pretty sure, I tried to think about this a little bit, but I don't think I have ever said, "God, I'm really glad that I stayed behind and folded laundry. I'm really glad I stayed behind and dusted the windowsills. I'm really glad I stayed behind and I'm even really glad I stayed behind and edited the video." Usually that's, Maria's playing with some dolls over here, and her doll bed is squeaking on the floor here. But I do know that I've had times where I have stayed behind and I've been like, Oh, I wish I would have gone with them in the Mustang for ice cream rather than stay home. Oh, I wish I would have done whatever it was rather than stay home and deal with housework and whatever the priorities are in my mind. Now, can you do that all the time? No, because there are things that just have to be done, right? You have to, you know, you have to write out the checks for bills or do whatever it is, right? You have to get things into the mail. You have to at some point wash clothes for your family, and at some point dishes have to be done. I guess what I'm saying here is that sometimes just giving yourself permission to let some of those things go, like just this room actually isn't too bad right now, but I could scan around the rest of the house and there's just stuff, right? There's stuff in corners and stuff on tables and messes all over, right, Maria? Maybe not all over, but it doesn't look too bad right now. But there's always something that could be put away, something that could be cleaned, something that could be dusted or washed or wiped or whatever. And sometimes it's just nice to just let that stuff go and do something that actually feels recharging. And I have to say, I didn't think that the kayaking was going to be recharging, but we were out there for probably 45 minutes, and it was probably the most glorious 45 minutes of that whole week. It was such a nice time. Okay, I'm going to quit yammering on about that, but thank you, Kimberly, for leaving that comment and really making me think a little bit more about that and kind of just kind of share that with you. So I hope that that gives you guys a little bit of food for thought, especially the mothers of young children. What I've been doing this morning so far is answering or responding to a few comments on that latest video. I didn't have any time yesterday to get to comments. I usually try in the first hour or two to be present in the comments and kind of be answering them, but I just wasn't yesterday. There was other things going on. I also packaged up a cookbook to Ellie. So Ellie, if you're watching, Ellie is one of them that won the cookbook from the September 2024 collab. So I put 2 of my cookbooks into the collab raffle the last, like a couple days after September ended. Then there was a live over on Leanne's channel from Mennonite Farmhouse, and 2 people won. So we have Carol. I'm just waiting to hear back from Carol if she wanted cookbook volume 1 or 2. I wasn't sure if it was clear. I wasn't sure, Carol, if you were expecting a particular cookbook, but I'll wait a couple days and see if she emails me back with which one she wants. But anyway, Ellie's is ready to go. So I did that, and we've just been doing all kinds of morning things here. I'm going to be writing up Maria's school plan right now. Joe, he was just a busy little beaver this morning. He collected the laundry for me. He put away the clean dishes. He's working on, he has assumed a spot. So about a month, probably longer than a month ago already, he assumed the spot at the island over there. And he's gotten pretty protective of that spot. Even if somebody tries to sit on that stool, he'll be like, hey, move, which isn't very polite. I've been working with him to be more polite about that. That's what's been going on. So what are we gonna do first? Well, what are we gonna do first, Maria? I should go and sort laundry. That's what I really should do right now. Oh, I was also working on editing a video. Sometimes I sit down for an extended period of time, just try to get the whole thing edited. Other times I just do like 15 minutes at a time. So I found that you guys are sometimes a little interested in like the behind the scenes of YouTube and everything. Of the YouTubes. That's almost what I was gonna say, of the YouTube. Okay, but so I use Filmora. Wondershare Filmora is what I use for my editing software, and it looks like that right now. So I had put all of the footage, I lined it all up for this particular video. That doesn't want to focus right there, does it? But it was 52 minutes of footage, and I have edited it down so far to 47 minutes, and I am at minute 6. So I spent some time. It takes about double the time usually, sometimes less. If it's a grocery haul, it'll take less than double the time to edit. If it's like if there's a lot of cooking, I know sometimes it can take more than double the time, but I usually allot, so if it's 52 minutes of footage, that's going to take me about 2 hours to edit. And I edited this morning for about 15 minutes. Sometimes I do that. I just kind of, I'm like, okay, I've got 15 minutes right now. We'll just edit a little bit. And then pretty soon by the end of the day, in little increments, I'll have a video edited. So that's what I've been working on. A recipe for biscuits. I'm going to be making sausage gravy and biscuits. I don't have any of the canned biscuits, which is what I usually use. I have some sourdough discard here. I just transferred to a new glass jar, and because this one is getting pretty crusty. Anyway, I just transferred 50 grams of sourdough, and I fed it with 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water. And I'm going to let that get to the point of being active and bubbly. And I'd like to make Molly's bread, which is the sourdough bread that uses the bread machine to make the dough. And it is a very soft and like a sandwich bread. Okay, what I'm going to do here now, though, is get all of the, come on, 2 cups. Cups. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do a half a teaspoon of baking soda. Calls for a tablespoon of sugar or honey. We are going to go with this honey. I just made my pumpkin chocolate chip muffins last night, and I doubled the recipe. I needed a cup and a half of honey. Now this is like a raw, unfiltered, very strong flavored honey. The muffins, they turned out quite darker than what I was used to, because usually I'll use a much lighter honey, like a store-bought honey or something, much lighter, and they are very strong, like very tangy. It doesn't seem to be stopping people from eating them. They still seem to like them. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 left out of 24. Okay, so we need, let me just check this. I think I actually I'm gonna need actually 2 tablespoons of honey. I forgot I'm doubling this. Okay, I just realized I was supposed to mix the honey in with the sourdough starter, or with the sourdough discard, not in with the dry ingredients, but it is what it is, so let's go for it.
What's the making?
I'm making some sourdough biscuits.
Ooh. Are they gonna look like mini original sourdough bread?
Don't.
That would be fun. Huh?
That was crazy.
If you put it in, and it all looks like mini versions of the big circle ones you make.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like. I've never done it before.
You're going to grate butter?
I'm going to grate butter, yes.
Do you want to fucking separate the muffin?
On the recipe, there was a suggestion. There was like a note saying that the author of this blog where I got the recipe from, said that she's been using her food processor now. And I was like, I'm not going to get that out, but I can see, because now I'm like covered in butter. So that was a ½ cup or 8 tablespoons of butter. I'm also going to use lard as my other fat. So I'll need 8 tablespoons of that, and that's probably 4 to 5, probably 6 and 7. And just a little bit more. There we go. No, where's my pastry cutter, honey? What did you do with it? All right, found my pastry blender. With Joe putting away dishes, every day is a scavenger hunt. Some days, I can participate in the scavenger hunt with a good attitude, and other days I participate in the scavenger hunt with a cruddy attitude. Now the only liquid in here is going to be the sourdough discard, which I feel like I'm still going to have to add some extra liquid. That looks good. Looks nice and like crumbly. And I'm going to measure out my sourdough discard just to see how much I have. Try to scrape every last little bit out of here. Because for one recipe I need 3/4 cup, but I'm doubling the recipe, so you know I would need more. Looks like I'm going to have just 3/4 of the cup. Let's stir this gently. All right, and since I rarely follow the recipe the first time, we're already going to have to change things up a little bit. Since I doubled the whole recipe, but I only had one amount of the sourdough discard, the difference between starter and discard is that the starter, when you use that term, it means it's active and bubbling. If you use discard, that means it has already gone through its active and bubbly stage, and it has already like sunk back down and it's kind of like flat again. I don't know if that's the right terms if I'm using, but that's how I would explain it. It has already done its big bubble, sunk back down, and that is what makes it the discard versus active bubbling sourdough. I believe if I read things properly or correctly and understand it correctly, the discard is a little bit less sour, a little bit less like tanginess or something to it. Okay, well, this is obviously way too dry then, so I'm gonna have to add some milk. I have some half and half, so I'm going to pour this in until I get the consistency that I want for a biscuit dough. It needs to be thick, patable, but not too dry that it just falls apart, but I also don't want it really sticky either. I'm going to get the oven set to 425, and I'm going to grease. I don't really know how many this is going to make. Clean, lightly floured surface. All right, this is a disaster. I got my hands wet with some cold water. I'm just going to loosely. I'd like to make 12 biscuits if possible. pounds of pork sausage. This is breakfast pork sausage. And there's not a lot of grease or fat. There really isn't much of anything. A little bit right there. So I'm going to be adding some extra butter to this. Well, Maria's s'mores cake. Wow, look at that. That one really made a mess. Maybe...
I think I should do something.
Yes, they are. Alright, we're just going to let that butter melt down. And then I'm going to add in 3/4 cup of flour. I'm going to go light on the seasoned salt since the biscuits seem pretty salty. I'm actually going to just start with a 1/2 teaspoon.
Like with seasoned salt too?
Uh-huh. And
whatever it's called.
Add extra pepper.
Pepper.
You want to listen to an audiobook, huh?
No.
Oh.
While I eat a mug cake, can I maybe watch a movie?
And then I need a little dash of basil.
No, maybe so.
I'm just going to go like this. Flour in there. That looks like a lot of flour today. I like to stir until all the flour is like soaked up by the fat, by that butter and the grease, and it kind of just coats all the sausage there. And I'm going to add in the milk now, which is going to be about 6 cups. And then we're just going to stir and stir and stir. Whoa. So that's so far 4 cups. I'm just scraping the bottom. I want to get all those cooked bits off of the bottom. And I will be prepared to add in 2 more cups of milk. If I haven't said it lately, shake your Worcestershire sauce. You want to get all that flavor. See, now look. I shook it up, got all the flavor off the bottom. Give it just a dash. Again, I don't want this to be too salty today. Where's my spoon? Here it is. On the spoon rest. That's a good place for it. All right, that's getting pretty thick. It hasn't come to a boil yet, so add in. There we go. We're going to stir that and stir that and stir that. So when making a sausage gravy, you do need to stir it often because you don't want that flour just completely sticking to the bottom. And you also, do you see those little bubbles over there? You also want to be sure to bring it to like a low boil. I mean, you don't need it to be bubbling and boiling away like crazy, but you do want to bring it to a little bit of like a simmery boil for sure like that, because that cooks out that gluey taste from the flour. If you just throw the flour in there and then just until it's thick and you don't really do any more cooking to it, it can have a tendency to have a gluey kind of a flavor, and we don't want that. It's starting to bubble like that. I'm actually going to turn the heat completely off at this point now because I don't want it to overcook. And that's it. This is just going to sit here. It's 11:30. I have no idea when they're coming in for lunch today. And who all is actually, everybody brings their own lunch, but I also like to have something where there's enough that we can share. So if anybody is still hungry or they want something that's hot, they can have that. Oh, that's okay. Looks so good. Today's walk down on the marsh is really quick. House. And there's where they're harvesting, right there. So it's not a long walk. It's a beautiful fall day. It's cooled down to the point where, I mean, I could almost be chilly. What are you eating something?
God.
What?
Yes, just tongue.
Oh, you were just chewing on your tongue?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. All right, well, yeah, I could almost be chilly today, but I'm not going to let myself be cold. The scarf is really helping things out a lot. Joe stop off?
I think he's by the tractor trailer.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, I have to double check.
I can run over.
Yeah, if you want to double check, that'd be great. This is the third trailer of the day, so it's more than half full. Warren just went in to fill out the load slip, so with each load you take in, you have to fill out like what bed it came from and what the variety is and that kind of thing. And then that's where they put the weight of the truck, and then, or the weight of the truck with the berries and the weight of the truck by itself and all of that, so that they can calculate out how much you get paid for the fruit. But anyway, today we have working Rick and Autumn and Nick, and we've got Chad up there. He's new this year, not new to us. I mean, we've known Chad. He actually was in our wedding. So, but he's working today. If I pan over this way, we've got Peter and Liam coming back with the trash trailer. And Joe is over there figuring out what he's going to do. I need to get over there. I need to get over there by Joe. I don't want him by that tractor.
You want it?
Talk to me about it.
I got it. Because, like, I didn't want to grab it when it was over there because I didn't want to fall in. But then there was this ball, so I put my foot there and I grabbed it. Like that.
You got it.
Should I throw it back?
Sure. You could probably just throw it in the water next time, huh?
Could I?
Probably would like that better.
Yeah, but they always hop around on the
Yeah, that's true. They do like to jump up there too.
Hop around on the Cranberries.
Uh-huh. It's a bit loud over here to be talking, but I just wanted to point out something kind of interesting here in just the difference in the varieties. So you can see this really dark red patch of fruit right there. Well, right over in there is where we had our very first variety of like early coloring fruit, which they're called high reds. And we had just a small square in this bed, and what Warren would do in order to, because they're very, very expensive to buy enough to plant out a whole bed. So he had purchased a small plot, or a small, you know, pile of high red vines. This was years and years and years ago. But anyway, he would do what's called rank them out, which is give them quite a bit of fertilizer so they send a lot of runners, and then that would get mowed, and he would use the mowings from that area to plant another bed. And we just kept doing that year after year until we got enough well, we just kept doing that year after year, and eventually we had other beds of high reds, like we'd have a whole bed of high reds, and then that could be ranked out, and then and then that could be mowed, and then that could be planted into another new bed. So anyway, that is why you see this band here of very dark cranberries, because those are high reds. Those are technically ready to be harvested, like already by the middle of September. And here next to it, and the whole rest of this cranberry bed is actually all Stevens. Or are these Lemonians?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Like,
we're gonna have to ask. We're gonna have. You got no clue, huh?
No idea.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to ask Dad when he comes back over this way. I'm pretty sure these are Stevens. But anyway, if you have a year where you have a couple of different instances can happen. You can have a year where you have a heavy crop, so you get fruit on the top, fruit in the middle, and fruit on the bottom. I'm not talking about yogurt, but I'm just talking about like stacked in the like canopy of the vines. And what happens is the lower fruit doesn't color up as fast because it doesn't get exposed to like the sun and everything, which does help to color up the fruit. Also, if you don't have enough cold nights, that also can deter them from coloring up, because just like the sun helps them color up during the day, actually the cold also helps them color up at night too. So that is something that we have been kind of a little bit without this year. Last night it froze hard though, so moving forward the fruit is just going to continue to color more and more and more. Just because I know that maybe somebody's going to ask this question, what happens with like the white berries that are in there? They actually all get pressed. Once they're frozen, the juice still comes out of those just as they do out of the red cranberries, and it all gets, when it gets processed into juice, that isn't a problem at all. They will get sorted out if the fruit is going to be processed into dried cranberries, because a dried cranberry, it really does have to start with a nice pinkness or redness. If it is too white, it just doesn't look appetizing when dried.
There's Dad.
Oh good, he's right there, but I can't just jump across.
I want to watch.
You want to watch me? We've got some questions for you. Okay. So I was just wondering about out here. Yeah.
Heritage sweatshirt on.
Vintage.
Vintage. There you go. Vintage.
Vintage. Stevens or Lemonians?
Stevens.
Stevens. Okay.
With a little tiny patch of high red in the corner. That's why that fruit is super dark right there.
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
Original high red plugs that I got from university. Just a little patch on the corner.
Awesome. And I had another question, Maria. Do you remember what it was?
No.
You weren't listening to me?
The Lemonians
Well,
are
I
done.
was,
Now
right.
it's Stevens, we think Stevens except for 2 beds of Sundance that'll be coming down. But pretty much everything's Stevens from here on out.
You gonna video? All right, I'm gonna give Peter a little ride to a hunting spot. Yeah, we got home from the library, and I just got I got 3 pounds of hamburger with an onion going, because I'm making dirty rice for supper along with salad, and we'll probably have sliced pears and applesauce. Peter's footwear, my footwear. He told me not to step on any leaves. Okay. Okay, I think that's pretty much impossible. I'm just walking down with him for his first, I guess he called it a jump, for the first jump. Then I'm gonna go back and tend to my supper. call this spot the Beaver Dam. So if we're like, oh, can you give me a ride to the Beaver Dam? There it is right there.
Well, I'm just gonna, like, sit down here, or are you gonna walk across the Beaver Dam and sit by that tree right there?
Okay. Well, all right, he thought maybe there would be some here, and he thought maybe I would get a shot of him shooting the first duck.
Maybe.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, it's a bird.
What is that? Are those ducks?
Oh, that's a squirrel.
Really?
Yeah. It's a
Sound.
squirrel in a hole, like a distress sound.
Oh,
Or like danger sound.
because they see a gun, probably.
Or see us.
All right, I'm gonna go back.
Okay, I'll call you
Okay,
when I want to head back.
okay.
Wait. 1, 2, 3.
I just, well, I had a couple of people ask if Joe was going to have a turn to plan the meals, and yes, he was getting a chance. He did help
And the
Maria
burgers.
with some of her meals that week, but he just helped me, and
Of
immediately he
onions.
knew that he wanted barbecue potato chips with dip. He also knew right away he wanted burgers. He was very clear that he wanted them on buns. Sometimes I serve burgers without buns.
And Blackstone.
He thinks that that is just out of the question. He also wanted that with tater tots. Now, mind you, I will put things like vegetables with these. You know, sometimes the kids don't give me the ideas of what they want. Like, we'll probably have green beans with this, or maybe salad, or you know, have green beans with the barbecue, whatever. This is just kind of to get the main thing down. He also was very clear he wanted pizza, ice cream, and Dr. Pepper. We'll see what we'll do about that. And then he was stumped. He didn't know what else he wanted. And I said, well, let me just read you some ideas. So I
Oreos?
just opened up the cookbook. Yes, you wanted Oreos. You did ask for that. What I did is I just opened up my cookbook and I said, do you want some soup? And he was like, yeah, soup. So I read him the different names of the soups. I skipped over chili, and guess what? After I read him all the soups, he's like, I want chili soup. So chili goes back onto the list again. And then I was trying to think something chicken related, so I read him a few different chicken recipes. I said, do you want chicken and rice casserole?
I love it. You missed peas.
Or I asked him if he wanted the cheesy chicken tater tot recipe. I asked him if he wanted that, and he said no, he wanted the chicken and rice, and he wanted Oreos with that. He also wanted mashed potatoes. I asked him what he wanted the mashed potatoes with, and he said steak. And I said, well, we did just have steak last night. And he said, yeah, I want steak on the Blackstone. And he said steak cubes. So I asked him if he wanted steak kebabs, and he said, yep, but that sounded good. And then he also said breakfast. And I said, what do you want to have breakfast for supper? And he said scrambled eggs and hash browns. So there we go. We've got yet another week of meal plans here. So that is what is going to be happening here coming up in, like, as the week unfolds.
A lot of them.
I am working on the dirty rice right now. So that is just about done. I doubled it, so that's 2 boxes of the dirty rice. I just get this at Aldi. We absolutely love it. And I did 3 pounds of meat. Now what I do, and I don't know what the box says, but I think the box says to do it separate. I actually brown my meat first with a full onion, and then I ladled out pretty much all of the fat. Then the box says to do like 2 tablespoons or something of butter. So I leave about 4 tablespoons of fat in there, and then I just pour all of the rice and the seasonings and the water all in there, cover it on low, set the timer for 25 minutes, and it will come kind of to a gentle boil, and I just let it cook like that. So with the hamburger and everything already in it, I don't do 2 separate pots. That's just too much rigmarole for me. Along with that, we are going to be having salad, and so this is just like what Maria likes, and we all like it. Oh, I'll get out some croutons too. I have some pears. They're definitely ready to be eaten, as well as some applesauce. So that is going to be our supper here on this Monday night. After supper now, and I really wanted to make some molasses cookies, so I am making the recipe that is in Cookbook Volume 2 on page 68. This is for soft molasses cookies. These are yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, that was tasty. All right, I start by putting in the fats, which is a combination of butter and I used lard, and then 2 eggs, a half a cup of molasses. What else did I put in here to start off with? That was it. Oh, and the sugar. And then I beat that until it was nice and just really well combined. And then I just started adding in the seasonings. The seasonings, it sounds like I'm adding in salt and pepper. I added in all of the spices. And the spices are all the typical ones. So we have cloves, ginger, and cinnamon. I also have to add in the salt here in just a second. And then last is 4 cups of flour. I don't know if you guys can see that there. Yes, I think you probably can. I put a rubber band at the level. You can see that the sourdough is starting to go up over the rubber band there. And so by tomorrow morning, this should be definitely doubled up. And then I'll be able to make some sourdough bread tomorrow.